I paid my parents rent because they needed money to support my golden child sister. Now they've kicked me out for her. And now they've lost everything because of it. Hello, everyone. I am Liam, an 18-year-old guy trying to make sense of it all after lately having a major falling out with my family. My parents, mom, and my 6-year-old elder sister, Brenda, make up my family. I am 6 years behind her. Let me start with some background to help you understand how things went sour. Growing up, I was always obviously not the favorite. Because they struggled to conceive her, Brenda became the miracle kid of my parents. I was continually compared to her. She was the golden child, shining in whatever she did. Although my parents held me to the same high standards they had for Brenda and they are both college professors, I just did not fit their pattern. Though I am not a great student or athlete, I have always been enthusiastic about painting. Sadly, from the perspective of my family, that made me the failure. Even extended relatives could clearly see the favoritism. One Christmas, I was 5 years old. My mom snatched the largest present I tried to get beneath the tree from me in front of everyone and handed it to Brenda. She received a telescope, while I was given yet another dress, one of several I already had. Seeing how offended I was, my grandparents sent me a dollhouse the next day. Since then, my grandparents have been my most ardent supporters. Brenda had recently graduated from high school and was en route to a top university when I turned 13. Inspired by their great pride, my parents decided to relocate us to a suburban area with a more expensive, better house. Mostly because it meant living further from my grandparents, the relocation disappointed me. Yet, I had little alternative. The new property came with a large mortgage and my parents had already saved much for Brenda's schooling. Still, they always seemed to have plenty for her. I recall getting Brenda a watch with my saved-up allowance as a graduation congratulations present. When she saw it, she grinned. However, before she could say anything, my mom intervened and handed her a more pricey branded watch she had purchased. Though Brenda did not object, it broke me. I withdrew from her from that point on and stopped attempting to reach out to her. Family meals became intolerable. Constantly comparing Brenda to me, my parents were unable to stop raving about how outstanding she was in college. Almost every night, I wept to my grandparents. However, my parents wouldn't allow me to remain with them because they thought I would be spoiled. They even had the arrogance to propose I work a part-time job on my 14th birthday since they were tight on money from the new house and Brenda's college expenditures. Still, parents never hesitated to send Brenda money for anything she needed. I ended up working weekends and part-time at a bookstore after school. I made good money, but it was because my parents pushed me to rather than because I wanted to. Brenda's life began to veer off course in the meantime. She entered a relationship, began skipping courses, and saw declining marks. About a year later, my parents sat me down and told me that because I had a job, I should start paying rent. My parents were enraged. But instead of holding her responsible, they released their anger at home and directed it on me. Their logic was that they were imparting to me accountability. To me, it seemed like punishment rather than a course of instruction. Furious, I retreated to my room instead of arguing. When I informed my grandparents about it, they became enraged. They even contacted my parents to chastise them, but it just resulted in a major argument. My parents returned to me following that battle and informed me I had two options, either pay the rent or move out. Though my grandparents resided too far from my university, I wanted to go live with them, but I didn't want to trouble them. I stayed and started paying rent. I hated my parents for it, but I knew fighting wouldn't make any difference. The following 2 years went peacefully. I avoided family gatherings, stayed to myself, and concentrated on my art and studies. In school, I was doing all right. After graduation, I was excited about entering an art program. As long as I paid rent, my parents didn't give a damn. They were too busy tending to Brenda's life spiraling. Eventually, she left college and started off the road with her lover, getting married in Vegas with no public notice. My folks were incensed when they found out. The house turned into a battlefield for ongoing disputes about Brenda's choices. I stayed out of it, spending more time at my grandparents' house and with friends. Brenda's marriage didn't last long. My parents couldn't have been happier when she and her spouse decided to separate after a few months. They blamed everything on her ex-spouse. Brenda returned home, and my parents delivered a bombshell to me. Now you can watch the second part by clicking on Share Then More.